Let's talk about the strength pattern and what that looks like in real life. It shows up in three ways, and I want you to listen to these three. See if you recognize any of these in yourself. I'll start with the Independence Island. When I was successfully running a partnership, which we grew to 6 countries in Africa, I was making very good money. And, being the child that was brought up as an independent young woman, I was spending a lot of it on myself and not allowing my husband to spend on me. So when I had a trip I wanted to take, I would just let him know, hey, I have this trip, it's coming up and it's ABC, and don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. Gone. Hardly did I ever ask for money for clothing or nails, although when he would travel, he would bring me something back. And what that meant for me was I was doing him a favor. He didn't have to spend a lot of money on me because I had the belief that, I needed to be self-sufficient. I mean, I didn't know it then. I just thought I was doing him a favor. But what does self-sufficiency really mean in a marriage? It meant that I was building walls. It meant that I was on an island. Does that feel familiar? The pride of not needing anyone, which eventually turns into profound loneliness. And then guess what we do? Of course, we blame the guy for feeling very lonely. But we create this loneliness brick by brick. We create the wall brick by brick by ourselves. So the second pattern is the what next treadmill. Your brain is constantly thinking, okay, what next? What do I do next? When you have high achiever tendencies, you run on this treadmill that has no off switch button. You're constantly in performance mode. You don't know when to switch off. When you're at home, you're thinking about work. When you're at work, you're thinking about work. In the leftover moments of your time of day, that's when you think about home or friends or doing something for yourself. You're constantly thinking about work because you want that next win. And it gets you those wins. I can guarantee you that. It gets you those wins because it did for me. But it's an addiction to motion and it's exhausting. The third one is what I like to call the default CEO for everything. When you're at home, you decide you're running the mill, right? When it comes time for children's birthdays, you do all the birthday logistics, you order everything, and on top of that, you pay for it. If you need a coffee maker in the house and you find that your spouse or your partner is very slow at getting one, guess what you do? You have the money. You quickly run and get one. You solve a lot of problems. You take care of everything. And that weight, being the CEO in everything, just crushes you. And sometimes you may feel a flash of resentment because you're thinking your partner is not pitching in. But guess what? You may not even be giving him the chance to pitch in because you're quick to solve that next problem. So how do you escape the strength trap without your life falling apart? You don't do it with more grit. You don't do it with another to-do list or with more hustle. You do it by making a fundamental pivot. This is not about changing who you are. It's about accessing that fundamental wisdom, that inner instinct, that quiet guidance that you were created with, that emerges when you stop living in constant striving and just trust in your creator and with a little bit of humility. So sometimes strength is not doing more. It is surrendering the illusion that everything depends on you and allowing faith to soften the burden you were never needed to carry alone. So this is the kind of work I do. It's tapping into your unconscious brilliance. And I do this in 3 steps. And before I get into those 3 steps, if you're interested in identifying your strength trap, I have an offer. It's a $99 an hour for a call, one-on-one with my undivided attention. I give you your next best step and your 14-day plan. All right, so let me tell you about the 3-step process that I use to rebuild my own life, reinvent, in fact, that's what I want to call it, with more clarity, with more calm, without the needed chaos. Step 1 was to audit my invisible instruction manual. Now, when you're growing up, you're adapting a lot of learning from your parents at first, from the schools that we go to, from the cultures that we embrace, from our communities. We adapt a lot. And for me, I had a father who was very successful. He was a successful entrepreneur. He was always the person that told you, why is it not possible? So you always had to find a way to solve a problem. If not, he would push you to solving it. I mean, with his support. So that meant for me that, I had to achieve success to be seen. And what I forgot, or what I did not learn, was tapping into the other side of me that was going to create the fulfillment along with the success. So that was my instruction manual. And before you can build a new life, you have to be able to identify which instruction manual is running your life. So before you can build a new life, you have to be able to see the blueprint of the old one. And that's what psychologists call our subconscious thought patterns, handed down to us in our upbringing and in our education and culture, as I said earlier. Rules we inherited without a choice. They were given to us, handed to us on a platter without a choice. They feel very normal, but they're holding us hostage. And you may ask that, wait a minute, I created all this success because my brain is brilliant. That is very true. But if your brain had learned to create the balance, or had learned to balance the belief that gave you that success and the beliefs that would bring you the fulfillment in life, then you would not be in a situation, you would not be burning out. You would not be exhausted. You would not be asking yourself the question, is this all there is to life? Even when you feel that you've created all this success, and feeling ungrateful as well, because you're thinking, I should be grateful with all this success I've created. But faith invites us to examine which beliefs come from fear, pride, or even a wounded self-reliance, and to ask whether they align with the kind of dependence, dignity, and balance that our Creator calls us to. Okay. The second step is to choose your new operating system. Awareness is the first step, but you cannot just delete the old programming. You have to install new programming over it, consciously too. So during coaching, I'm of course going to use coaching questions that are powerful, that are going to help you uncover the new operating system that feels true and beneficial to you in order to replace the old one. We eventually create a balance between the energy that brought you the success and tap into that suppressed energy that can bring you the fulfillment that you're looking for. In essence, we create a spiritual alignment where we make the intentional decision to replace those beliefs that are rooted in fear or over control or self-sufficiency, whatever the case is for you, and to reflect on trust in our Creator, in the humility that brings us that meaningfulness in life that we so desire. Okay. Step number 3 is we then have to build proof of this new operating system. How do we do that? We need evidence to back it up. That means we start putting what we've learned into action. If there's one simple change that we've identified that you want to do, assuming you're the type that believes that you don't need any help, and you may not even realize that you believe that, your actions may clearly show that you don't need any help. So once we uncover these beliefs that you're unaware of, we want to start practicing beliefs that are going to give you permission to ask for help. Allowing support is a sign of a strong leader. It really is. A brilliant action might be asking your partner to handle all the school logistics for at least a week. I mean, whatever the situation is for you, each action is a vote for your new identity. building a new reality from the ground up. Transformation is not about a grand gesture. It's often built through sincere, consistent, small actions, small choices that you take on a daily basis intentionally. And once you build that practice, the brain develops the muscle to create that new, I call it an identity or the transformation that you're looking for. All right. The first step, though, in all of this transformation work is the most important. And we don't just want to feel better. We want to fundamentally change the way we live, work, and lead. So that is why I created the Unapologetic Shift. It's a 3-month private coaching container where I take you through this process. You focus on exactly who you are. We work through the river of misery to transforming you into the person that you want to be. It starts with a single moment of clarity, and that's why I offering a first step, which is your next best decision clarity call. It's a $99 call for 1 hour. If you're interested in applying step 1 of this framework to your life, check out the links below. I also would like to know in the comments, what is your strength trap, if you've identified it, and what have you done to turn your life around or to reinvent or to overcome that strength trap? Okay, I'll see you in the next video.